Most anticipated racket of 2026, Babolat Pure Aero 98. I want to thank Babolat Plant team for sending me this demo racket. I really appreciate the effort to support my channel, and yeah, let's review this beauty. It is quite a challenging thing to upgrade something that is already like top popular racket on the world right now, and especially when the racket is actually taking over top players from the other brands. So if you change something, you might destroy the magic DNA that is hidden behind the previous edition. One knock that is being repeated over and over, if it is mentioned at all, it would be probably feel and comfort with the previous edition. Even Alcaraz seems to be sensitive. Obviously, it might be connected more with the fatigue of the tour rather than the racket, or maybe specs of the racket, but for sure comfort on that level and every level could be much appreciated. But if you introduce comfort, maybe you will reduce the power, the responsiveness, and the spin that comes with the responsiveness. So it is always a very tricky balancing game. As you can see, the specs has changed slightly. I got the racket in grip size 2, so I added one additional overgrip. Yeah, it had an impact on static wave and balance slightly. Turner grips weigh approximately 5 grams, but the swing wave, as we know, when you add mass to the handle, it doesn't change that much. Here, the swing wave was increased compared to the previous version. So whatever the difference was with this edition, maybe it is more associated with the bump in swing wave rather than the racket itself. Keep that in mind. I'm not sure if that was the intention for this specific model, or maybe I just got the racket that way. But what's interesting is, despite the bump in swing wave, I actually didn't feel the frame as sluggish. It still had this Pure Aero DNA of rock solid racket, very stable. And you see the twist wave of this frame, it is crazy high. For reference, my E-Zone has a twist wave of about 14 points, and yeah, this is a tank. So for its twist wave and swing wave, I was quite surprised how easy it is to move around. On my backhand, it clicked right away, one of my better shots, and yeah, Pure Aero was just a clear improvement compared to the previous version, where I was sometimes losing the ball, sometimes I was just hitting too long, too short. It was less consistent on that wing. Still fun to use, but yeah, less consistent. And here I was shooting bombs on demand, and it was on a very consistent level. So a great improvement over there. On my forehand, which is a slightly worse shot, slightly less fluid maybe, I sometimes was getting stuck on my loop, on my backswing. But I think overall I could adjust to the frame and the specs and how it feels on the move. With the correct grip size, I wouldn't have to add additional overgrip. Yeah, I would have to play around with specs to adjust mainly to my swing style. Nothing wrong with the racket, I would say, here. Head coach of the academy I play in is quite sensitive to higher specs, higher swing wave, maybe not higher static wave, but swing wave for sure. He plays with Head Extreme Pro, and he actually liked this racket a lot, and he didn't notice the swing wave being out of his preference zone. When it comes to the DNA of this racket and performance, I would say it is unchanged. The level of solidness, power, responsiveness is pretty much the same. The biggest change is how the racket feels on contact point. It is a bit more muted, maybe the vibrations are the same. Like after a session I felt something going on with my wrist, but while playing absolutely no issues. So again, maybe something that your body will adjust to over time. It might not be entirely associated with the stiffness of the frame. If I would have to describe or compare the feel of this frame to some other rackets on the market, Dunlop SX300 Tour comes to my mind. And in fact, it actually reminds me of this frame. The paint job kinda looks like a Dunlop SX300 Tour. So again, performance, I would say the DNA of the racket is unchanged. The target group of players is unchanged. Spin-oriented players, even control-oriented players should test this racket. It is a responsive racket. It gives you power, it gives you spin. It is a very modern frame, modern option, but still with 20 crosses and slightly lower launch angle compared to let's say Vicor 98, you get sense of control. You get the sense of what you are doing with the ball. You can shape the ball, you can drive the ball, so it is a very versatile racket. Obviously, it lands somewhere on a power-oriented zone of rackets, quite comparable to maybe E-zone in its response and power potential, maybe a tiny bit hotter, but the predictability is quite similar. I think stock to stock, that would be my choice. When customized, hard to say. I really like E-zone. I think the current E-zone is the best E-zone that I've tried. This one, yeah, really exciting release, really good improvement, and they nailed what the racket needed without changing the overall performance. So in conclusion, on my backhand side, it was definitely a more consistent racket. On my forehand side, I was getting stuck a little bit more, but maybe it is associated more with the specs rather than the racket's DNA or responsiveness. Something I think that I would overcome with some tweaking and just time on the court. Is this racket for me? Yes. Will I switch to this racket? Too early. I need a bit more time to really figure it out. I am on my path of choosing my main racket. Will I switch to something more modern, more responsive, or maybe I will go back to something more classic with a slight bump in power potential, like a T-Fight 305S, or maybe Headspeed Pro, Headspeed Tour, Vicor 95, who knows. Quite an exciting times for us tennis nerds, really great rackets. Release after the release, we are getting an improvement, I would say. Small, but definite. Strings I used here was Babolat RPM Blast 125 gauge, and here comes another potential for me. I could put 130 gauge, maybe lower the tension slightly, get more feel, but even more control, hopefully. Maybe my forehand would become a bit more consistent. However, yeah, thicker strings will make frame heavier. Hard to say, but yeah, backhands, ooh la la. So that's it for this review. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and see you soon, guys. Probably, yeah, I'm getting grip size 3 or 4 for myself. By the way, grip sizes can really change the way how you feel the ball on contact. Like when I have a smaller grip size, I tend to move my arm in a more spin-oriented manner. Maybe arm, maybe hand, but yeah, I feel like I'm whipping a bit more, while with the grip size 3 and especially 4, it is much easier to guide and hit through the ball, which I think for my needs and my vision how I want to swing suits my swing style probably better. That's why I'm quite excited with the possibility of getting a slightly bigger grip size. It might help me get the response on my forehand side, be a bit more consistent, and yeah, follow through the ball more than whipping around. And I think this racket with this responsiveness and string pattern overall is for aggressive players that want to hit more through the court. It's not for the loopy players. Maybe Vicor 100 would be better there. I think even Gravity Tour has a potential of a more loopy ball. This one shoots lower above the net unless you really want to hit that way. It's there if you need this, but on a neutral shots, I feel like the launch angle is neutral. Not too low, not too high. Yeah, quite good racket for guiding the ball. That's it for this review. Thank you for watching and see you soon. Bye bye.